talk about Creative Fabrica subscriptions. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my craft room. My name is Kelsey. I also call myself Dinosaur Mama, and today we are going to talk about Creative Fabrica. So as many of you know, or maybe don't know, I do not have a Cricut Access membership. I'm just not a fan because you have to keep everything on their design space. So today I want to talk about why I do have a Creative Fabrica subscription instead. We're going to go through what they have available on Creative Fabrica, where you can find it, how to utilize everything, and how I utilize Creative Fabrica in my business as well. And at the end of all of this, we are going to make this little shadow box using a Creative Fabrica font. Let's look into it. So here we are on creativefabrica.com. You'll see when you are on their homepage, they have unlimited access to 127,000 fonts, which is just insane. And most of them are commercial use fonts. So I have to say that is my biggest draw to Creative Fabrica as an SVG designer, because I can use those fonts in my different SVG files that I can then send out into the world. It's such a great thing to have when you think about using them throughout Cricut Design Space, Inkscape, your website. There's just so many things that you can use those for. So they have so many fonts to choose from, literally like script fonts. Look at this, Party Days. It's just such a cool way to be introduced to different fonts. They even have ones that are paired together. So if you're looking for something where it's like a handwritten font and then a script font that goes with it, because I have to admit I'm pretty terrible at matching fonts. They have ones that are already paired for you. It's great. When you first get on to Creative Fabrica, it can almost be overwhelming because not only do they have just fonts, which is overwhelming in itself with over 100,000 to choose from, they have different graphics, including 3D SVGs, coloring pages for adults and for kids, patterns for sewing, needlework. They also have classes, Cricut classes, graphic design classes. So if you're looking to learn how to create your own SVG files, you can learn how to do that on here. Even business classes and Etsy classes. So if you want to go ahead and sell the stuff that you're making, they have all of it available for you. And as a small business who makes digital products and tutorials, sometimes I need mock-ups, and that is one of the biggest reasons that I love Creative Fabrica. So not only just the fonts, but the mock-ups. And I know that might sound silly to some people, but mock-ups can get really expensive and you do have to pay for them. And so with Creative Fabrica, I can go women's mock-up and they give me a ton of different options. They have kids mock-ups, women's mock-ups, sweatshirts, and I can put my SVG files on there where I don't have to make the design in full. It's kind of like a cheat code that they don't tell you when you're doing a digital business. So if you're looking to do print on demand, which is not something that I know a lot about, but this is a great way to have mock-ups. They provide them for you. They have bags, they have glasses. They have ones that go into Adobe and they have ones that you can just use on Canva. So just incredible for small businesses. Between the fonts, the graphics that you can use for commercial use, and then classes and mock-ups. I mean, that in itself is just, to me, totally worth it as a business owner. If you are interested in trying out Creative Fabrica, I am going to drop this link below to a promo that they are offering to all of my followers and subscribers right now. I'm super excited. You can sign up for free and you get 10 items for free. After the 10th download or after your first month of the subscription, it'll renew for $9 a month, or you can just upgrade to the yearly plan for $5 a month. That is the one that I went for, and I mean, it's totally worth it, I promise. And as someone who doesn't love subscriptions, this is one subscription I am actually very much behind and that I did pay for out of my own pocket. They did not give me this subscription. So I just want to let you know it is something that I absolutely love and I support with my own money for my business. So if you want to try it for free, please check out the link below in the description, and I can't wait for you to try it. Now, if we jump back over to the homepage, I want to show you how I am going to utilize Creative Fabrica for my design. You can find this dinosaur shadow box on my website. Again, I will drop the blog link below to find it. And I'm going to show you how to insert a Creative Fabrica font onto that project. So it is a personalized project that you can make. They have literally every font that you can ever think of. So if you're looking for something in particular, like dinosaurs, you can literally just search for dinosaur font. And it's going to provide you with so many options. It's like overwhelming, honestly. And so go ahead and download whichever one you'd like. So you can go off to the side and filter by fonts or whatever you want to filter by and scroll through. I'm going to go with this one here, dinosaur. And you're going to hit download. Again, you'll see the commercial usage allowed below. So if you are concerned about anything, you can always click this and read through your subscription license, single sales license, all of these. And you can download this onto your computer. You're going to want to download this before you open Inkscape if you're using it in your own designs or in Cricut Design Space, because you want to have it downloaded into your computer before opening it, or it's not going to show up on your list of fonts. So make sure it is downloaded first. So here you'll see I have my shadow box file uploaded into Design Space already, and I grabbed a text box. I'm going to type out my son's name and go to the system fonts and search for the one that I just downloaded. So I don't know why it's not popping up. Okay, so there it is, dinosaur, the first one. As you see, I have like more than one dinosaur font available in my list. So I'm going to change it to the dinosaur font, and I am going to resize it. I'm just checking to make sure that the E is the way it's supposed to be, and I'm going to resize it to fit into that cloud. So I'm going to drag it over. I'm just ungrouping my layers. This font had the letters really close together, so I am going to actually not ungroup it, where you go to advanced over on the side. Yeah, ungroup, sorry. Ungroup to letters, and now I have individual letters, so I'm just going to kind of space these out a little bit more. You can also just use the letter spacing if you want, but I just wanted to give myself a little bit more room in between each letter. It didn't really have to be an even amount, but I want to make sure that they are all spaced out before I slice it. And since I ungrouped to letters, I then have to weld them back together. And now I can slice it into my white layer where the smoke is. So I'm moving over the T again. Don't mind me. Just a little bit of perfectionist there in me. It doesn't happen often. But I'm going, now I need to move the O. But I'm going to make sure it's welded together before you slice into the back. You can't slice multiple images or letters into different projects. I don't know if you knew that on Cricut Design Space. It has to be one object and one object. So I welded it back together. I feel like my T's are still really close together now that I'm looking at it, but it worked out when I finally made the project, and I sliced it. So you're going to delete the gray text and then the white, and now I'm left with my son's name into that one piece of the shadow box. Again, you can just cut the name out and glue it on to the smoke if you want. I went with it, so I just had to attach all of the layers. So because this is like a stencil, you want to make sure everything's connected. So I'm going to grab a shape, a rectangle, and I'm going to place that over the center of the O so that it connects to the outside on both the top and the bottom, as well as that E center. So you can use your discretion here on how thin or thick you want this, what shape you want it to be, where you want it placed on your letters, but you do need something to connect to the center of any letters that have a piece, like a B, a P, a D, things like that. They have to have it attached if you're doing a layered object and you want to just have your machine cut it. I hope that makes some sense. And if it doesn't, please don't forget, you can always drop me a comment below, and I answer almost every single comment that comes in, and I love to hear from all of you about all of the projects that I make. So I have these three. They're a little thick, so I'm just going to thin those out. And now I'm going to grab all three of those rectangles we just made and my back piece, that smoke with the name, and I'm going to weld those. And now you see everything is connected. So now you can send this over to your machine. I created this shadow box as an 8x8 file, so it is totally up to you if you want to resize it. I'm just putting my layers back to where they need to be, and then you can center everything to see your final project. And I cut everything out using 65-pound paper. Let's get assembling. For this, I'm kind of going to speed through the assembly. For my layered projects, I like to use a foam tape, and I will link everything below of what I'm using. I'm using a strip foam tape. It's not super high, and I usually like to use something with a little more height, but I went with a lower height on this one, but that's up to your discretion. And I just use strips to create the height here. And of course, it's up to you how much or how little tape you want to use. So I'm going through with each layer and doing my best to layer them evenly. Make sure you are checking this. See, I'm even pulling apart here. And be careful, because depending on the tape, it might rip your paper. So you have to be extra careful when you're doing that. This tape wasn't super sticky, so it was easy to work with. I got this at my Dollar Tree. And it's actually decent tape. If you want to learn how to create your own Shadowbox SVG files, I do have a video on that as well, which I will link below in the description, and you'll be able to learn how to create your own SVG files for free on Inkscape. I also, don't forget, will have the link for this free SVG file, as well as that Creative Fabrica free trial. So there are so many links below. Make sure you are checking out all of those links that I have for you, because I'm so excited. There's so many cool free things for you to try out. The total time for assembly on this, when I did each layer with the tape, was probably somewhere around 12 minutes to make sure the layers were really good. And I know I need to get a new tripod for the shaking. It drives me nuts. I'm going to look this week, I promise. But I do my best to not make it too shaky. It doesn't help that this is in like 2 times speed. So just bear with me. You know, we're working with what we got here. So I am going I'm using my tweezers here to pull off all the tape, and I'm being extra careful when I layer everything, because I want it to be really even. You don't want to see the color from the layer before in a spot that you don't want it. I hope that makes sense the way I'm saying it. And again, the more height that you have with your foam tape, the more dimension that's going to be. And I always suggest layer all of your layers first before you just start assembling, because 95% of the time, Cricut is not going to cut them in the order that they're supposed to be layered in. I also like to put all of my shadow boxes in an 8x8 size, because that seems to be the size not most shadow boxes, I don't want to say that, but one of the more popular sizes of a shadow box at Michael's. They also have, I believe, like a 9x9 and then maybe a 12x12. They do have some rectangular ones too, but you have to keep in mind the paper that people have available for those. So I know that there is longer paper now available at Michael's, but I also know that it's not cuttable on all machines. I hope that made sense. And it's also not available in like the most colors. Like, they don't have everything available. So here I am putting on my final layer for my shadow box using my tweezers, and then I put that into my 8x8 shadow box that I have. And this is your final project. So don't forget to check out everything I have linked below to make this project. Thank you so much for joining me as we made this shadow box and talked about Creative Fabrica. Let me know in the comments what you think. Are you gonna get a subscription? Are you gonna try it out? I really hope you do. I absolutely love it. It's been really beneficial for me and my business, and I think it's a really helpful tool for crafters, even outside of the Cricut crafting space. If you enjoyed this video and you want to make more projects and see what else I have in store in the future, please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Stay crafty!